What is going on, football fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video as the New York Giants drop to 3-7 on the year. Normally I do the post-game live streams. To be honest with you, just wasn't up for it tonight. Didn't feel like talking about this team for another 90 minutes or 2 hours or whatever it may be on a Monday night after a game like this. I'm sure I'll go live at some point this week to talk about the Giants, talk about the rest of the year, talk about I don't know, what we got going forward with this football team. But, of course, this season is going to be a complete disaster. That's the way it looks right now, and I'm not upset because the Giants lost. Obviously, we knew going into the game, you're going up against Tom Brady, who had 2 straight losses, the defending Super Bowl champions. I thought it would be a competitive game. I didn't think we were going to get embarrassed by as much as we did. I'm not upset about the loss. I'm upset about the way that the team played, and we'll go over all of it. And it was a complete team effort, top to bottom, outside of Andrew Thomas, who caught a touchdown pass and played pretty well on the left side. There's not much else to say in terms of positives. I suppose Adoree Jackson had a good game. His interception was lucky, but his coverage, I suppose, was pretty good. But outside of those 2 players, maybe there's a player here or a player there that you want to say had a good game. It was bad. The offensive line, of course, was bad. I thought in the first quarter and a half, it was pretty good in terms of pass protection. It was bad. Daniel Jones, we'll get into his game. He was beyond bad. And the defense was beyond bad. But I think after tonight, basically, it ends any small glimpse of hope. Because as a fan, you want something to cling to, right? That you have any kind of hope down the stretch to maybe go on a miracle run and make the playoffs. And sure, maybe some fans could convince themselves over those last 7 games, the Giants could find a way to win 5-6 games, which when I looked at the schedule, I thought it was possible. But after an effort like this, it's really hard for me to convince myself that this team could win 5 out of our last 7. And even if you did that at 8 and 9, you're probably still not making the playoffs. So right now, I think this essentially probably ended the New York Giants season in terms of playoffs. Of course, there's things we're going to look forward to throughout the rest of the year. We want to try to see some player development, whether that be McKinney, Andrew Thomas, players like that, Quincy Roche, whatever it may be. We want to see these guys improve as players for sure down the stretch. But, of course, now a lot of fans are going to check out. They're going to think about the draft currently going into tonight. I don't know what it is. The Giants had the 5th pick. It's probably right around the same, the 5th pick and the 6th pick with the Bears. So I suppose that's something to look forward to in terms of the offseason. And we'll see what picks we end up with. And it's going to be a very busy offseason indeed, being that I expect the New York Giants to have a lot of changes. Definitely the general manager. We'll see if it's the head coach. Joe Judge, no excuses for him tonight either. I tried to defend him leading up into this week because I honestly don't know if it's the best time to make a coaching change. But at the end of the day, the team was not prepared. You had 2 weeks to prepare for this game, and the New York Giants came out completely flat. There were instances in the game where I felt like Kenny Golladay looked like he was giving up, to be completely honest with you, which is never a good sign. Obviously, probably discouraged with the fact that he only had 2 targets. The offense was a complete mess. They didn't score all night. Their first drive, they looked good. They got stalled in the red zone, and they kicked the field goal. The touchdown, I don't even count because they got the ball on the 4-yard line, and that was a gift by Mike Evans. It wasn't even like it was a good play by the New York Giants defense, but the entire team was just a complete mess tonight. I mean, there's really not much to say in terms of analyzation with this team. The way that you break it down is the entire team was pathetic. When you look at the final numbers, I mean, 28 first downs for the Bucs, 6 of 13 on 3rd down. The New York Giants offense tonight, oh my God. I'm looking at these numbers right now. The New York Giants offense tonight was 1 of 9 on 3rd down. 1 of 9 on 3rd down. They got outgained by nearly 200 combined yards, 402 to 205. Rushing 94 to 66. We did only commit 4 penalties. There's a positive, I suppose. I don't know what to tell you guys. But overall, just completely out game planned, out coached, out hustled, out muscled, outplayed. Tom Brady made us his little bitch, for lack of a better word. I thought the Bucs came out similar to the way the Chiefs did against our defense. They threw a lot of quick screen passes. They got the ball out of his hands quick, and then they kind of adjusted their game plan as it went along, and everything that they did, the New York Giants couldn't stop, whether it was running the ball, whether it was opening it up down the field. There was one crucial play in that game where it could have been a turning point early on in the game. I think it was like a 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, where Brady hit Gronkowski all the way down to the Giants' 29-yard line for like a pickup of 50, where he did a good job buying time in the pocket, but the New York Giants gave him about 5 seconds to make that throw, and plays like that obviously are why the Tampa Bay Bucs went on to win this game as convincingly as they did. Defense couldn't get off the field, at times, for sure. It was just bad. The entire team was bad. And of course, we're going to talk about Daniel Jones because Daniel Jones' performance tonight, there's no excuses. There's no excuses. And, you know, I try to be as fair as I can with Jones. I'm a fan of the football team. I don't want to have to draft a quarterback next year because what I fear is quarterback hell. I don't view any quarterbacks in this upcoming draft as the savior of the franchise, and I don't view our franchise as being good enough to support any quarterback that we bring in. So that's the way I look at it. I don't want to just take a quarterback to take a quarterback, but Daniel Jones tonight was pitiful, pathetic. It was one of his worst games he's had since he's been a pro in the NFL. You look at his numbers, his final stat line. Let's look at it real quick. I didn't even have the patience to look at it after the game. He was 23 of 38, 167 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. And sure, some people could certainly point to the fact that the offensive line was subpar, and they were. The offensive line wasn't great. There was pressure throughout this game, but his first interception was among one of the worst decisions I've ever seen a quarterback make. And I would love to hear the thought process after the game as to what he was thinking when he made that throw. Because while I was watching it, I was saying to myself, I need to know what he was thinking. Like the throw there was nobody there. It looked almost like he threw it to the Tampa Bay Bucs player. Maybe there was miscommunication with Barkley. I don't know. Maybe he thought it was going to be a screen pass, whatever. It looked to me like he just panicked, and it was an inexcusable interception. And I think it's becoming abundantly clear that Daniel Jones is not going to be the long-term answer for this football team. And I hate saying that. And, you know, I want him to be. I love Daniel Jones. He's a New York Giant. He's a great kid. He's a hard worker. You know I wasn't in love with the pick when they made it. I knew, you know, and the biggest reason why I wasn't is for the same reason I don't want to draft a quarterback in this year's upcoming draft. I knew we were not situated to support him as a quarterback, knowing that he was not an upper echelon prospect. When I mean that, I mean like a Trevor Lawrence type prospect coming out of college. He certainly got some talent, but, you know, everything that people complain about in this game, you saw. Outside of the fumbling, the first read throws, the stupid throws. I'm watching the replay right now. Even the second interception he threw where he didn't see Devin White, even if you want to use that as an excuse, even if Devin White wasn't there when he tipped it, the corner probably would have picked it off anyway. It looked like he was going to jump the route. And I recognize that they're down by a lot of points and he's trying to make plays, but it was inexcusable. And it was on national TV again. And it's just pathetic right now, this New York Giants football team. And there's not much to say that we could build off of. There's just not right now with this team. And it's unfortunate that I feel that at the end of the year, people ask me all the time, what would you do if you were the general manager? If they hired me, which they would never do, but it's just fun to talk about what I feel as a fan, what I would do. And again, I always like to say I want to see the rest of the season. But at this point in time, I would recognize that the team is not going to be equipped enough to support Daniel Jones. And even if they are, he's not going to be a guy that's going to be able to put the team on his back. Maybe if we get all the pieces around him, it's possible that he could be a very good quarterback with the New York Giants. But by the time we get to that point, if we could even get to that point, he's going to be 5-6 years into his career, and you're not going to be able to pay him the money. And that's just how I feel right now. You're not going to be able to pay him the money that a second contract would demand. So I think if I was the GM next year coming in, if there was a team willing to offer me a package similar to that of what the New York Jets got for Sam Darnold, I would take the same approach the New York Jets did, and I would trade him. Otherwise, I would use him as a stopgap quarterback for the next couple of years and try to build the team up around Daniel Jones and the guy that inevitably, if Daniel Jones does not take a significant leap, would replace him. I would not draft a quarterback in this year's draft, but if I could get pretty significant draft capital from a team like the Saints or the Steelers, that's something that I would look into. And I think that that's something that the New York Giants are going to have to heavily consider in the offseason if there's teams that are interested in him as a quarterback, if they feel that they could bring him into their situation and they could get something out of him. But unfortunately, right now, the way I feel as a fan is he is not going to be the long-term answer for this football team. And some of it's certainly on him, and some of it's certainly on the fact that we don't have the pieces around him to be able to get the most out of his abilities. And that's unfortunate that we did set him up for failure. We definitely put him in a tough spot, but he is not that level of talent that could overcome the situation that he's been put in. And most quarterbacks, if we're being fair, probably cannot. But his performance tonight was just downright pathetic, horrible. As far as Joe Judge goes, the fact that, and Patrick Graham, by the way, the fact that you had 2 weeks to prepare for this game and you came out with a dud. And I mean, they look completely overmatched. Now, the defensive game plan, I completely understand. I try to be as fair as I can. You're going up against Brady. You want to take a bend but don't break approach. They played a lot of zone, which is what I expected them to do. But the tackling was piss poor, and that goes more on the players for sure. And they just allowed them to do whatever they wanted, start to finish in this game. They were never even close to getting pressure up front with that defensive line. There were instances, I guess, throughout the game, maybe like mid-second quarter or mid-third quarter, I forget, where it looked like they were starting to get consistent pressure up the middle, and then it just reverted back to the way that it was. The Giants couldn't get any pressure throughout this game on Brady. The Bucs came out with a clear game plan to get the ball out as fast as they possibly could, and then they realized that the offensive line could block them a little bit longer, and they started to try to extend plays down the field. And yeah, I mean, when you can't get pressure on Tom Brady, you ain't beating him. I mean, period, end of story. And the defense failed tonight. I went into this game confident, not that we were going to stop them, but the defense could put forth a pretty good effort. They were playing very well over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Obviously, it's Tom Brady, but with the extra week to prepare, I really thought the defense would come forth with a much better effort than what they did tonight. And, even when we got gifted that touchdown to Andrew Thomas, where Daniel Jones threw it to him in the end zone, we allowed the Bucs, like we've done all year, to go down and score a touchdown, and that took all the momentum away. And then we got the ball back, and it was just a mess thereafter. So, I mean, I don't know what else to say, guys, man. I really wanted to see a much better performance tonight by the New York Giants. Didn't get it. This team's downright bad. They're pathetic, and they've certainly been underwhelming this year. Going into the year, I definitely raised expectations as I thought was appropriate, and I thought we could win 9 games, and my prediction was wrong because we ain't winning 9 games. We might win 7, and I think that's probably our ceiling at this point based off the schedule that we have. I'll be going to the Eagles game tomorrow. Next week, rather. I'm certainly going to have a lot of fun getting to see us go up against our rivals, but I have my doubts whether or not we could beat them. With the way that they've been able to run the football as of late. Our run defense still struggling week in and week out, and there's really not a whole lot of good things to say about this team right now, and I hate to say that. I hate to make videos like this. I try to be a glass half full guy. Glass is empty right now with this football team. The glass is just empty in terms of guys that we could build around. I mean, Kadarius Toney, there's a piece. Azeez Ojulari, there's a decent piece, but we got a lot of building to do. And for me, it's going to start up at the trenches. And you know that if you watch my channel. And it's always going to start up at the trenches with me. That's what I need them to really, really hit home with this offseason. I'm going to be hitting home with it on the channel. I am going to be, you might as well rename my channel the Entertainment Talking Offensive Line, because that's what I'm going to be hitting home with. Until they fix that, we are not going to be a consistently good football team for a very long time. But it's not just that. We're going to need other pieces as well. We're going to need to fix the defense, and eventually we're going to more than likely replace Daniel Jones, whether it be next year or, in the near future when we feel like there's a upper echelon quarterback that could take this team to the next level. At least that's the way that I feel right now. And I'm never going to give up my quarterback. As long as Daniel Jones is the quarterback for this football team, I'm going to root my ass off for him, and I hope that he could grow as a player. But tonight was a pathetic performance. I wouldn't say it was quite as bad. Yeah, the Rams game was probably slightly worse, but when you factor in that he had all of his weapons, and you were going up against a team that the last 2 weeks went up against backup quarterbacks with as vulnerable as a secondary as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have had all year, for Daniel Jones to go out there with another week to prepare and lay an egg, it was bad. And I know a lot of people are going to point to Garrett. I mean, are there things that you can nitpick about? Sure. We didn't run the ball a whole lot. Let me take a quick look at the stats again. I don't feel like we had a lot of carries with our running backs. Barkley had 6 carries. Booker had 3, so we only had 9 carries with the running backs. You want to nitpick with that? That's fair. It was somewhat competitive there for about the first 3 quarters or 2.5 quarters of the game. Maybe they could have mixed it up a little bit. But I thought Garrett was pretty innovative. I thought actually he really opened up the playbook. He had the throw by Toney. I thought that throw to Kyle Rudolph down the sideline was a really interesting call as well, where he motioned Penny out wide right. It looked like he opened up the playbook a little bit tonight, but it just didn't work. The offense didn't flow. And whenever you're 1 for 9 on 3rd down, I mean, that's horrible. The 4th down conversion, of course, was also a major turning point in this game, which I thought was actually the right decision by Joe Judge there. I'm going to be as fair as I can. The play call, not so much. They came out sloppy. They looked unprepared. It was almost as if they couldn't decide whether or not they wanted to go for 4th down. At least that's the way I felt while I was watching the game. They broke the huddle with about 8 seconds, and they rushed to the line of scrimmage. I definitely agree with going for it on 4th down. Didn't look like they were prepared to go for it, though. This team's got to get a lot better, and I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry that you guys have to endure this week in and week out with this football team. I'm getting to a point where I hate talking about it. Love my team. I'm always going to support my team. I'm always going to cover my team. But it's tough times, man. It's tough times right now to be a New York Giant fan. Tonight, like I said, I expected a loss. Didn't expect a performance like this. And again, it's on national television where the New York Giants go out there and just completely embarrass themselves. I'm going to have fun with the rest of the season. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to root my ass off against the Eagles. But tough one to take tonight. Giants are 3-7, and it looks like we're staring another top 10 draft pick in the face. And probably 2 with the Bears pick, which I guess is optimistic news in terms of the future of this team. We're going to get a lot of answers in terms of what the future of this team is going to look like, by the end of the year in terms of who's going to be the GM candidates. Are we going to move on from Joe Judge? And we'll see. If they hire an outside GM, that is obviously entirely possible. But yeah, not a good night for anybody. I mean, outside of Andrew Thomas, I guess, because he caught a touchdown, and I guess he did a pretty good job on the left side. But Will Hernandez was really bad. Called his name a couple of times, had a couple of crucial penalties. He probably won't be back with this team, and yeah, guys, it's bad. It's bad, and I can only hope that it gets better sooner than later. I'm gonna continue to support the team in the way in which I do. I'm gonna continue to have the philosophy that I have. I'm not gonna be try to be a reactionary guy. I'm always gonna try to think things through and think big picture. That's what I try to do on my channel. That's what I try to do as a fan. But right now, the reactionary fans are winning because right now they're right. They're right. It's easy to take that route and say that changes are needed every 3 or 4, instantly like a lot of fans do. But right now, they're right. I mean, changes are absolutely needed with this football team. It's just a matter of how many changes are they going to make. But the Giants are 3-7. We've got 7 games left in the season. We got 2 games against the Eagles. We got a game against the Bears. We got a game against the Cowboys. Game against the Dolphins. Game against the Chargers. And somebody else. Let's hope that they get finished with a strong year, right? They win 4 or 5 out of their last 7, and maybe we got something to build off of. Maybe we feel a lot better about this team going into the offseason. But I think the only question that remains with this team in terms of the future is it going to be a complete blow-up, or do we try to push forward with Joe Judge as our head coach, or is there going to be massive changes in the offseason? And like I said, we'll get those answers in about 2 months, but sad times to be a Giants fan, and I promise you eventually they'll get good. By the time they get good, I may not have any hair, and my hair looks crazy right now. I'm going to be getting a haircut tomorrow. But eventually, they will get good. But as always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.